Afro Tales podcast is a part of the Connected Podcast Network.
Ahoy, my friends. Welcome aboard the Afro Tales podcast. I'm your storyteller, Aman Mazinga. Join me as we explore the tales that grew from the people of Indigenous and African descent in the Americas and the Caribbean.
After, come and see me, chef, who will impart upon you a recipe for the story you have just heard.
So with no further ado, let us set sail on this new age of exploration. Juan Bobo and the Pig.
Juan Bobo, Mama said, either you come to church with me or you take care of the pig. I will take care of the pig, Mama.
As soon as Mama left for church, the pig began to squeal.
Do you want to go to church?
Juan Bobo asked the pig. The pig squealed.
All right,
said Juan Bobo. Juan Bobo brushed the pig's teeth with Mama's toothbrush. Then he got Mama's new dress.
This new dress is too long, said Juan Bobo.
He ripped the dress in half. He put the top half on the pig. The pig squealed.
Wait, said Juan Bobo. You cannot go out like that. You need a mantilla. Mama always wears a mantilla on her head to go to church.
Juan Bobo could not find a mantilla, but he did find a hammock. He tied the hammock around the pig's head.
You look very pretty, he said, but not pretty enough for church.
Juan Bobo put high-heel shoes on the pig's feet. He put earrings on her ears, and he powdered her face until it was all white. Then Juan Bobo dumped a bottle of perfume over the pig.
Now you will smell good in church.
Juan Bobo put 4 dimes in a handkerchief. He put the handkerchief under the pig's dress.
Mama takes money to church,
Juan Bobo told the pig.
You should too. Now, go,
said Juan Bobo,
or you will be late.
The pig ran and ran until she came to a puddle, and then she stopped and rolled in the mud. She tore the dress. She lost the earrings. Her mantilla flew in the air. Mama found the pig on her way home from church. She grabbed the squealing pig and dragged her home. By the time they got home, Mama was covered with mud. She was too angry to speak. Juan Bobo stared at Mama. He stared at the pig. He scratched his head. Then he smiled.
Mama,
Juan Bobo said,
I didn't know you could play with mud at church. Next Sunday, I want to go to church too.
The end. Story number 2. A Dime A Jug.
Juan Bobo, Mama scolded, stop tasting the sugarcane syrup or you're going to have to pay for it.
Mama put corks in the jugs.
Go sell this syrup to the widows, she told Juan Bobo. Ask them for a dime a jug. Who's the widows?
Juan Bobo asked.
They are the ones who will be coming out of church soon. They wear skinny black dresses and carry fans. They are small and speak softly.
All right, said Juan Bobo. He grabbed the jugs and left. On the way to church, Juan Bobo saw a handkerchief lying in the mud. He picked up the handkerchief. Out popped 4 dimes.
What luck,
said Juan Bobo. He put the dimes in his pocket and kept walking. But when he walked around the big mud puddle, he took the wrong path. After hours of walking up one hill and down the next, he came to a sugar mill.
That must be the church,
Juan Bobo thought.
Syrup! Delicious syrup,
he cried. 4 flies flew out of the mill.
shiny black dresses,
Juan Bobo thought. He saw the flies' wings.
fans.
He thought. The flies came closer.
They are small,
Juan Bobo told himself. He heard the flies buzz.
and they speak softly. They must be the widows. Syrup,
Juan Bobo called.
a dime a jug.
But the flies just flew around and around the jugs.
All right,
Juan Bobo said.
I will open the jugs for you.
He pulled out the corks, and the flies flew into the jugs.
Stop,
Yelled Juan Bobo.
stop tasting the syrup, or you're going to pay for it.
But the flies did not stop. Juan Bobo had to shake them out of the jugs. The flies began to fly away.
Wait,
Juan Bobo yelled.
you have to pay for the syrup.
Juan Bobo started to run after them, but he tripped and fell. The 4 dimes popped out of his pocket. Juan Bobo saw the dimes on the ground.
They paid.
Juan Bobo said. Then he remembered the jugs.
Hey, widows,
Juan Bobo called,
you forgot your syrup.
but the flies flew into the mill.
Oh well,
Juan Bobo said.
if they don't like syrup, I do.
He sat down and drank all the syrup. He left the empty jugs for the widows. It was dark when Juan Bobo got home. He gave Mama 4 dimes.
I sold the jugs, Mama. I sold the jugs of syrup,
He said. Mama hugged him.
Tonight, Juan Bobo, you can eat as much as you want. No thanks, Mama,
Said Juan Bobo.
tonight I am very full.
And off to bed he went. The end. Story number 3. Slowpoke slaughtered 4. Once and twice makes thrice. Upon a time there was a king, and the king had a daughter who loved every riddle that was put to her. No riddle was too difficult. The time came for his daughter to marry. The king sent out criers to spread the word that whoever brought a riddle the princess couldn't solve could become her husband and inherit the kingdom. But let her solve it, and the suitor would be hanged by the neck until dead. Since the princess was beautiful and the kingdom enormous, princes, marquises, sages, and professors from all over came courting. And all were strung up at the gallows as the princess guessed their riddles one after another. There was a widow living in the kingdom that had a son that had not been spoiled by the ways of the world. People were unkind and called him Juan Bobo. Juan, having heard tell of the king's proclamation, decided that he too would go to the palace with a riddle for the princess. His cautious mother tried to stop him, but Juan Bobo had made up his mind. At last, with a heavy heart, the mother gave her permission. While he saddled his mare, his mother made cassava cakes for Juan to take with him. Thinking it would be better for her good-hearted son to die peaceably on the road than at the gallows in the great city, she put a dose of poison into the cakes. Juan Bobo set out. After traveling a while, he got off his mare and lay down to take a nap under a mango tree. While he slept, the mare found the cassava cakes and ate them in one gulp. The cakes killed the mare instantly. Then 4 crows arrived to peck at the corpse, and the crows too were killed. Juan woke up, saw what happened, and continued his journey on foot after plucking the crows and stringing them around his neck. As he passed through some woods, some 7 thieves waylaid him and stole the plucked crows. When the thieves ate the crows, they fell over dead. Juan took one of the thieves' rifles and continued on, keeping an eye out for something to eat. He saw a squirrel, took aim, but missed. Instead, his shot found a rabbit that happened to be pregnant. He skinned the rabbit, then built a fire to roast it, using some newspapers that were lying nearby. He went on. He came to a river, and as he crossed the river, he looked down from the bridge and saw a dead horse with 3 crows on it, floating in the water. At last, he reached the palace gates and asked permission to present a riddle to the princess. When they saw him at court, they laughed, and some were stricken with pain, knowing the poor man was about to die. But Juan Bobo, unconcerned, went up to the princess and said to her with great seriousness, "I started out on Slowpoke, and Slowpoke slaughtered 4. When these had murdered 7 more, I shot at what I thought I saw and killed what I couldn't see. The flesh I ate was not yet born, though fully cooked with words. And when I crossed from there to here, a corpse was carrying 3. The princess began to think. She had 3 days to solve the riddle. The first 2 nights, she tried to get the answer by having one of her maids and then another go to the room where Juan was staying. The 3rd night, the princess herself slipped into Juan's room. "Let me have your nightgown," he said, "and also your ring. When morning comes, I will tell you what you need to know." The princess did as she was asked, and when morning came, Juan whispered the answer in her ear. So the princess explained the riddle before the court, and the king sentenced Juan to the gallows. The poor man asked permission to speak. "She didn't know the answer," he cried, "until I told her what to say." The king asked for proof. Juan held up the nightgown and ring. "Enough," the king cried, and he gave orders for the wedding to proceed immediately. The 2 were married and lived happily from that time on. For Juan Bobo turned out to be cleverer than the great princes who had passed through the king's court. The end. Wow. So we had 3 great stories coming out of 2 books. One being Latin American Folktales, stories from Hispanic and Indian traditions by Jean Beirhorst, and the other, Juan Bobo, 4 Folktales from Puerto Rico by Carmen T. Bernier-Gand. And if you can't see the difference in Juan Bobo between the ages, when he was a youth and then when he was closer to an adult, I don't know what to tell you. It's how life is. This is how we grow up, you know. He was never a dumb kid. He just misunderstood a lot, right? Whereas when he got older, he understood everything he needed to. And the name Juan Bobo basically means foolish John in Puerto Rico. And I can see that because he does make a lot of foolish assumptions and has a lot of foolish actions. And there's a lot more stories out there about Juan Bobo. He's a national treasure, a landmark you can actually visit in Puerto Rico. But he's also the fool, the trickster. And you see that in his character and how he is. He will show you how smart he is and what he's capable of, either by accident or on purpose. But it's the on purpose part that you need to pay attention to. Because although he's out moving like a fool, on the way to see the princess, he's actually making smart moves, almost like the bumbling idiot that you see in a lot of movies and stuff like that, where people don't see what he's doing until the very end, and they're like, oh yeah, no, he's the smartest guy in the room. But you don't know that, and a lot of people think that just because they see you do something stupid or do something what they don't think is smart or what you should be doing, they think you're an idiot. They think you're a fool. But at the end of the day, no, you're actually the smartest guy in the room. It was like I was told years ago when I was young that in a place of work, you don't show them all you can do for free. Once you show them what you can do, they'll expect you to do it all the time. If I show you how strong I am in the day one, you'll expect me to lift the heaviest objects. If I show you how smart I am, you'll expect me to solve all the hardest problems. But if I take it one day at a time, progressing little by little for you, you will then see me as, somebody who's not quite ready, but we're going to get them there. And it almost makes it seem like you were the one to get me to that level when I was at the level day one. So when they told me that when I was young, I didn't understand. But also, when I got older, I was like, oh, yeah. Why would I be an entry level position and showing you that I have I'm basically a manager. I have the smarts of every manager in your office. I have the skills of every manager in your office, but I'm getting paid entry level. You want me to do all the managerial stuff, but I'm getting paid entry level. It's those things of getting paid what you're worth, knowing what you can do and showing people what they need to see until they see that you need to be paid better. Juan Bobo may be a fool acting, be naive out there, according to what we, suspect, but he's not really. In the story about the flies, the jugs, he went the wrong way. So the story says he saw some flies, little black dresses, wings or fans. They buzz, so they talk softly, and there's 4 of them. And he opens the jugs. He found a handkerchief full of dimes, which, might I add, was probably the ones he put in the pig's dress that fell out in the story prior to that. Right? And then he says, they paid. So he could sit and eat all of the syrup, which was what he was trying to do in the beginning of the story. Yeah, he's a fool, all right. He is definitely a fool. And I love it. I love it. But there's not much to this these stories that I can just really go into besides knowing how much intellect to show and when to show it. All right? Now, go see Chef. He has a wonderful recipe for you inspired by these stories. And until we meet again, thank you for all you do, listening, sharing, and the like. And as always, have a blessed day. Welcome, my friends, to the Galley. I am your chef, and today we have a wonderful recipe inspired by the stories you have just heard. Today we will be creating Asopao de Camarones, or shrimp and rice stew. Now, what do you need for this wonderful recipe? For the shrimp broth, 2 tablespoons of oil, olive oil divided, half large onion chopped and divided, quarter red bell pepper chopped and divided, quarter cup of homemade sofrito, 1 pound of shrimp tails removed and set aside, 4 cloves of garlic roughly chopped, 1 tablespoon of salt or to taste, a few sprigs of cilantro, 2 sprigs of thyme, 8 to 10 cups of water. For the asopao, 1.5 tablespoons of olive oil, 3/4 of red pepper chopped, half onion finely chopped, 2 cloves of garlic minced, 1 teaspoon of oregano, 1 packet of saison, half teaspoon of cumin, 4 ounces of tomato sauce, half a cup of sofrito, 1 cup of long grain rice soaked in water, a 1/4 cup of cilantro chopped, and 1 pound of raw shrimp. Now, how do we put this together? Easy. First, for the broth, warm oil in a large stock pot over medium-high heat and add onions and peppers. Cook for 3 minutes or until vegetables have softened. Add in sofrito, shrimp tails, garlic, salt, cilantro, and thyme. Saute for another 3 to 4 minutes. Add in water and simmer water for about 10 to 15 minutes. Turn off the heat and allow shrimp broth to cool. For the asopao, once the shrimp broth has cooled slightly, drain the pot in a colander over a very large bowl or another pot to reserve the shrimp broth. In the same pot, warm oil and we'll build the sofrito sauce by adding in chopped onions, chopped peppers, garlic, and sofrito. Allow these to cook for a minute or until fragrant, stirring frequently to keep it from burning. Next, add in the salt, pepper, oregano, saison, and a pinch of cumin. After 20 seconds, add in tomato sauce and about a 1/4 cup of the raw shrimp and set the rest of the shrimp to the side until the end. Allow the sofrito sauce to infuse with the shrimp for about 30 seconds. That is 30 seconds before gently adding in the shrimp broth. Higher heat and bring shrimp broth to a boil. Now add in the rice. Lower the heat to medium or until the shrimp broth is at a steady and gentle simmer. Allow the rice to cook, stirring it occasionally. Once the rice is tender and cooked through, add in the remaining raw shrimp and chopped cilantro. Cook an additional 5 minutes or until shrimp is pink and cooked through. Taste for seasoning. And that is it, my friends. Now, go. Do what you do. Make this recipe yours. And until I have another wonderful recipe for you, remember the adventures of Mr. Juan Bobo. So until next time, my friends, as always, enjoy. Thank you, my friends, for coming on this voyage. Thanks to Art by Chalet for the logo, episode, and shirt designs. You can get t-shirts and other items on tpublic.com. You can contact me on all socials at AfroTalesCast. That's AfroTales Cast. And email me at AfroTalesCast@gmail.com. You may also become a benefactor by simply sharing with any and everyone, giving a thumbs up, a 5-star rating and review in your podcast app of choice, or simply donating on Patreon or Ko-fi.com. That's ko-fi.com. So until we meet again, may your winds be fair and your seas follow.